A heart-rending scene as people hold a memorial for the 157 people who died in an Ethiopian Airlines crash this month.
I wish they had told us that they had found no remains in the first place. This has made our grief terrible. We came empty-handed, and we're going back empty-handed.
The fact that we can't hold funerals makes the grief hard to handle. The pain is unbearable for his father, mother, and children.
They're not the only ones looking for answers. Regulators have identified similarities between Ethiopian Airlines Flight 302 and Lion Air Flight 610 that went down in Indonesia in October. Both involved the new Boeing 737 MAX 8 aircraft and crashed minutes after takeoff. Many suspect the flights were doomed by faulty sensors and autopilot features. The links have been enough to cause regulators in the EU, US, China, and dozens of other countries to temporarily ban the 737 MAX 8 and the similar MAX 9.
I think it's a good move that the planes are grounded. Obviously, people who are flying were very worried about it. All kinds of different legislators were worried about it. It's better to be safe than sorry. So right now the planes are grounded, which is great.
The Chicago-based plane maker has sold more than 370 of the planes, and airlines have placed orders worth $600 billion. Garuda Indonesia says it's considering canceling its order for 20 737s. But cancellations from Chinese airlines could be the bigger blow. They were reportedly set to order 100 of the jets worth $10 billion as part of a potential trade deal between Beijing and Washington. US President Donald Trump says he wants Boeing's issues resolved soon.
It's a big decision. It's also one of our largest exporters. One of our, truly one of the truly great companies of the world. They have to figure it out fast. They know that. They're under great pressure.
French air accident investigators are now examining the 2 black boxes from the Ethiopian Airlines crash. Boeing hopes the results will show its 737 MAX is safe or help the company find a life-saving fix. Paulo Montecillo, TRT World.
Helping us navigate through this story is Savio D'Souza, Aviation Director at the consultancy firm Brand Finance. He joins us now from London. Thank you for joining us on Money Talks. Just how bad of a week was this for Boeing?
Well, they have lost about 11% in their share price, which we all know about. And in terms of their business value, this is about $30 billion over the last week. All of this obviously is intangible value. In terms of what proportion of that is brand, it's about a third. So we estimate about $7.5 billion in terms of their brand value being wiped out. For some context, we valued the Boeing brand at the beginning of the year, the 1st of January, at about $32 billion. So it's roughly 20-ish% that we estimate that they would have lost in the last week in terms of brand value.
The company has grounded all of its 737 MAX jets until at least May. What does that mean for the company and also for the employees? There are tens of thousands of people who work for Boeing.
Yes, I mean, it is quite a big, in terms of reputational damage for the Boeing company and the brand, it's quite big. They were seen as not being reactive enough while regulators around the world were grounding the plane. So, that will have an impact both externally and internally for employees who may feel that, the company was quite cold in the way that it dealt with the events from last week.
What about the airlines that had to cancel flights because they were literally in mid-air while countries were banning these 737 MAX jets from their airspace, and these airlines had to turn their planes around and grounded flights, and people whose flights were canceled? Could Boeing be held responsible or liable for any of that?
It's quite likely that they might be held liable for it. It really depends on who at the end of the day is liable for whatever the issue was. So really, I think we have to wait and see what the issue was, because it's quite likely that Boeing would say that these aircraft are quite there are a number of different components that go into it. There are a number of the suppliers that also work with them to put the aircraft together. So, they could always go around and say, actually, this is not our fault. We warned everyone beforehand, and they could sue someone else. So it really depends, and we have to wait to see who will pick up the final bill. But it's no surprise that the airlines are turning round to Boeing to say that they'll send in a bill for the aircraft that have been grounded and for the leasing costs to replace those aircraft. And Norwegian is taking a lead, who have gone on the record to say that they would send Boeing a bill, and you could expect a number of other airlines to follow suit.
It's still pretty early into the investigation in what caused the Ethiopian Airlines plane to go down. But if it is determined that it was a problem with the 737 MAX that caused both of these aircraft to crash, do you think that will be the end of this jet? And how can Boeing reassure people that these airplanes are safe?
It depends on how severe the problem is. If it is, as a lot of people are saying, if it's just a software issue and an update, which they say they'll roll out by the end of April or the end of May, I think, then they could quite easily by the end of the year get over the issue. If it is a wider issue with the whole design of the aircraft, that could damage the whole 737 MAX program. But that is still that has yet to be determined and yet to be seen.
All right, still very early in the investigation, as we know. Savio D'Souza, thank you so much for joining us here on Money Talks.